Less than 24 hours, Georgians will be under a shelter-in-place order.
McDonald, though, said he did not know the man was handcuffed and was trying to use his foot to pin him to the ground so he could be handcuffed.
If your friends, neighbors, or local organizations are not complying, report them to us.
Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the Free Georgia podcast. Apologies for missing last week. I just didn't have the energy to get it done. So we're going to dive right in. We are focusing for the next couple months on the Great Create, which is Libertarian Party of Georgia's convention this year. Part of it is going to be, the first 2 days of it are going to be a DIY festival focused on self-sustainability and people who create things, people who make things, people who speak about self-sustaining things that they do on their property, on their land throughout Georgia and outside of Georgia as well. We've got people like Shane Hazel, Reed Coverdale, Edgar Mills. Edgar Mills will be talking about Osprey shooting solutions and training in firearms. I think his motto is train, train, train. So today we have Kristin Hammock of Hammock Haven Farm. So let's bring her in real quick. Kristin, thanks for coming to the podcast. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, where is your farm located?
We're just north of Columbus, Georgia.
Okay.
It's actually Midland here, but the city's kind of encroaching in on us. So my big investment this year was a gate at the road. So, stay out of my compound.
Yeah, I know how that is. I've had to put up gates on our property as well. And it's not my favorite thing to do. I didn't want to have to, but sometimes you do. Can you describe what you do on your farm for folks who don't know?
Well, I just started out, when we moved here probably 15 years ago with the vegetable garden and the fruit trees and all of that. And kind of begged my husband for some chickens, which really quickly turned into about 30 chickens. They're a gateway drug, by the way. So, after the chickens, it was some ducks and the geese, and then, of course, the dairy goats. And who knew at the time that would be my love and passion. And so I begged my husband to build me a fence for, I don't know, a couple of years. And finally, I decided the fence would show up if the goats showed up. And I went and picked up 2 goats and brought them home.
Holy cow.
And, yeah. So that was about, I think, 11 years ago now. And here we are.
Wow. So the goats came before the fence.
Yes.
Wow. How did that conversation go after you brought the goats home?
He said, I guess I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Perfect. That's
Right.
a good husband.
Exactly.
What made you want to go get goats so badly?
I'm all about sustainability and, being able to provide for myself and my family. I mean, you can look out there and see the food that we're being given now and fed and what it's done to the health and well-being of people. And I just wanted to be outside of that system. And so, we had the protein with the eggs and the chickens and, the vegetables and the fruits and dairy was a huge part of it. I mean, at the time I have twin boys who are now 18 years old, but at the time, they were little milk fiends, 5 years old or something.
Right.
And, I guess it kind of coordinated. I started making cheese from milk at the store, realized my cheese was only going to be as good as my milk. And next thing you know, here are the goats.
Gotcha. Was it ever a possibility to have cows instead of goats?
I'm kind of scared of cows.
Really? Okay.
I know, isn't that pathetic? I like horses.
I mean,
but
they're like 1,500-pound animals that don't really
Yeah.
seem to have any, I don't know.
If I got
They are
kicked by
pretty freaky.
if I got kicked by a cow, I'd be, wiped out here. So no, just from at the time we only had 8 acres and it's wooded and it's hilly and rocky. And, we've added some property adjacent to us since then.
Mhm.
But it just wasn't really a good setup for the cows either. Goats are really the wise choice for where we were and where we are.
Gotcha. What is it like to, first of all, how many goats do you have?
That's like asking a woman how much she weighs or how old she is. I
Well,
mean,
I'm asking the question anyway.
um, we downsized a bit last year, just some personal issues. So we're down to maybe 15 or 20. We had triplets yesterday, and
Oh,
so this is
wow.
the beginning of our kidding season. So we're going to flux somewhere between, I'd say, 15 and 30 over the next couple of months.
Nice. What's it like to deliver a goat baby?
Messy.
Messy? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, there isn't an unusual birth at this point that I haven't seen, and I've been up to the elbow and all that nasty stuff. But
Uh-huh.
you just do what you got to do.
Have you,
But they are truly the cutest things ever.
yes, I mean, they really are. Do y'all do goat yoga on the farm?
Nah,
Yeah,
no,
no.
just I don't think my guardian dogs would like that much.
Fair enough.
And a lot of people that do those have those Nigerian goats, the mini ones.
Mm-hmm.
So my goats, some of my girls are over 200 pounds. So
Holy
if they
cow.
decided to, hop on your back, you might be in trouble.
Yeah, that wouldn't be so pleasant. That's not the
Nah,
experience most people who are looking for that are looking for.
no, probably not.
We talked about this, me and some other folks on a podcast on Thursday night. Have you ever seen the show Clarkson's Farm on
Sounds
Amazon?
familiar. I don't watch a lot of TV anymore. Honestly,
Fair
I
enough.
got fed up a couple of years ago and just like clicked it off and kind of haven't looked much since.
That's fair. I'm almost the same way, except I work in TV and film, so I got to watch a little bit of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, I learned so much about, because he bought a bunch of sheep, and was learning how to he calls it sheeping.
You know the joke about sheep, right?
No.
They're four legs looking for a place to die.
That's a good description.
Seriously, yeah, they're really difficult. From
Oh
what I've
yeah.
heard, I've never tried it, but wow.
I think he gave up sheeping. He like pawned them off on a neighboring farm, and they run it for him, and he still reaps
Right.
some benefits of it. But
That makes
it's
sense.
it's interesting to watch like how the whole birthing process goes, and like what all they need to survive, and
hmm
how much effort it takes to keep them contained. Is it similar with goats?
Mine are good about being contained. I don't have a problem with that. Um, but yeah, just when you think you've seen it all, they'll throw something else at you. So
Gotcha.
it's a learning curve. Anybody that's getting into it, I don't think you're going to get into it easily and
Mm,
cheaply, and kick them out there and they're going to cut their lawn. It's not good. So
gotcha.
it's be prepared for the work.
Okay. If someone were to want to get a couple goats for their property, how many would you suggest, and how much would it take to get started?
I'd get at least the couple of different sides of this. I'd get at least three. They're herd animals, so you need at least two. But if something should happen to the buddy, then you are stuck with one, and one goat is an unhappy goat. So
Gotcha.
I try to say three. Um, then there's the issue of being ready to breed them. In order to have dairy, you've got to be able to breed them. They have to have a baby. And most people don't
Mm,
want to keep a buck. They're big, in rut, they stink. They're just
mm,
kind of pains. So,
gotcha.
if you start with three, I'd say don't do two girls and a boy, and that's not going to be the
Hmm.
best choice for you. I'd start out, with somebody reputable that you can go use their bucks, for a fee each year, just in the beginning until you're ready to expand.
Gotcha. Um, let's see. I had another question that you were just talking, and now I forgot it. Um, how long have you been interested in farming? I know you said you've been there for 15 years, but when did that
It's
start?
kind of been lifelong. My mom was a backyard gardener, and my grandfather before, and we were always suburban, but always had the free vegetable of the week is what my mom would call it. So we're going to eat zucchini every day that week because it's time for the zucchini to come in. You know how that goes.
Uh-huh.
Um, my husband actually grew up on a farm, and they did some row cropping and raised hogs. And I guess in my head, always thought that I'd be the suburban housewife type. Well, he's not a neighborhood type. So, here we are kind of on the outskirts of the city. It's a nice compromise. And I couldn't see myself in a neighborhood at this point. And I think that foundation, from my grandfather and my mom kind of led me to get into the ag school at University of Georgia, where I graduated with a horticulture degree. And I'm better with animals because plants aren't going to yell at you if you don't water them, but the animals are. So, I'm kind of bad about like, oops, I forgot to turn the sprinkler on that. But, my goats are like, my water bucket's empty, Mom, So it just kind of morphed into this. And I do this. My mom, she's still the vegetable gardener. She comes over here and works in my garden. It's like my mom and dad's retirement passion. So they live across town, but come at least once a week to work in there. And she says, my pets have fur and hers have foliage. So it makes for a good balance.
Interesting. Yeah, I can understand how like a little bit of feedback from the thing you're taking care of really helps. Whereas me and my wife had a garden at our last house, like a big one, and we definitely killed a few plants.
Yeah.
It's easy to do. So yeah. What I've been looking at your YouTube channel today. I'm actually going to pull it up real quick. Some of these cheeses that are in the pictures look amazing. Can you talk about, like, first of all, like, do you have a favorite cheese that you've made, and like what the process is for making goat cheese?
Gosh, that's a tough one. Favorite cheese I've made. I really like the Oaxaca.
Okay.
Which it's kind of like Mexican string cheese. And that's actually one I won the American Dairy Goat Association amateur cheese competition with that one.
Wow.
So yeah, I've entered twice and I've won best in show twice with my cheeses.
Holy cow.
Yeah, pretty good. The YouTube page kind of came around at the time my sons were, kind of preteen and then really into that kind of thing. And one of my sons more than the other, and so he wanted to learn about video editing and how all of that worked. And so it just turned into a collaboration between the two of us, and he did all the video editing and camera work and all of that, and I did the cheese making, and it turned out pretty great. We haven't done it in a couple of years because he's 18 years old in college, works full time, so I kind of lost my help there. So that's kind of how we ended up with this topic for our YouTube channel. In terms of the cheese making, it really depends a lot on what kind of cheese you're doing. There are different processes for each kind. But I tell people who are interested in cheese making, just take everything you know about food safety and throw it out the window. Because basically cheese making is like, here, take a pot of raw milk, add some, microbes to it and leave it at room temperature for 24 hours, So,
the opposite of what you're told to do.
Right.
Interesting. I've never attempted to make any cheese. How did it go easily did it come easily for you, or did it take a while to master?
Certain things are easy.
Okay.
And then other things, I always like to push myself and see, hey, can I pull this off? And, it's a challenge working with goat milk versus cow milk. And so most of the recipes you've got are for cow, and just how to transfer those to goat milk. I mean, it takes just kind of a basis of knowledge and what it should look like at this point. And so it's another big learning curve. But then again, there are things that are really easy to make, like the chev, the fresh goat cheese. When you talk about goat cheese for people, they usually think that log of goat cheese. That's incredibly easy to make.
Interesting.
So, I mean, it's, it can be as easy or as hard as you want to make it.
Okay. Are there like health benefits that are different between goat and like cow's milk?
Definitely. The goat milk is much easier to digest. It's got smaller fats and proteins in it. I think I saw a statistic somewhere that you digest the goat milk in like 30 minutes, where the cow can take hours.
Really?
And so a lot of my customers are people who are lactose intolerant, that come because they can tolerate goat milk. So, um,
Well,
yeah, that's the main health benefit there. Then in terms of just raw milk in general,
yeah.
I wouldn't go to a big 500 cow dairy or whatever and drink the raw milk there. Not going to happen. But
Mm,
with a small herd where you know what's going on with them, um, you know that it's clean, you know how the milk's been handled, there are health benefits to drinking the raw milk as well. One of the tests to see if pasteurization has been complete is an enzyme test. And if all the enzymatic activity is killed in your milk, they consider the pasteurization process complete.
right.
Now, one of the enzymes in there is lactase, which helps you digest lactose. And so, you know,
Yeah.
and then people go and they take their probiotic because they don't have good gut flora. And,
Yep.
you drink the raw milk, it's got all that good stuff in it.
Interesting. What is like a day like in your life? Just a regular day on the farm.
Oh, this is kind of my easy period because we're just starting kidding. Once we get into all the kids are on the ground, I'm not a morning person, so my goats are not on a like 4 a.m., 4 p.m. kind of schedule.
Okay.
So it's more like, I roll out of bed, hopefully by 8 and get my coffee and then I'll go up there and milk and feed and, do anything else that needs doing up there. And, you know, I've got a couple pigs now, so it's feeding the pigs and the chickens, check on the garden. And I kind of have the intermediate time free. So my latest passion is watercolor painting. So I'm doing a lot of that, painting in the afternoons. And then come, almost dinner time, it's time to go back out there and milk again. So I usually prep dinner and go out and milk them again.
That's a pretty good day, I think. That sounds great.
It's a routine. It's a routine. And, I try to part of the year just get them on a once a day milk schedule. So I don't have to do it twice. I lose some milk that way, but it's worth it just to have extra free time for myself. It is a commitment.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Where do you sell your products?
We used to there's the Midland Farmers Market, which is just down the street from me here in Columbus. And we were one of the founding members of that. But my husband travels during the week for work. And then I would get up Saturday morning and head off to the market for the whole day and then be, completely beat by the time I got back home and unloaded and everything. So we were kind of at cross purposes with that. And I developed enough of a following there that people just come out to the farm. And especially when the market's going, I'm literally 2 miles from the market. So a lot of people on Saturday mornings will head over there, get what they want, and then just swing down the road to me.
Oh, it's a perfect location.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So as you know, the Libertarian Party is putting on a little DIY festival. What made you want to be a part of it?
Well, I've been friends with Elizabeth Melton forever. I don't even remember how we met, through homeschooling, I think,
Sounds right.
eons ago. And so we've kept in touch, and she's got her Liberty Happy Hour that they do the first Thursday of the month over here in Columbus, and meet up at the restaurant, and just a good group of us get together. So yeah, just us touching base and this kind of stuff. She asked if I'd be interested in setting up over in Perry, and I went, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it.
Nice. What do you plan on bringing or demonstrating or showing while you're there?
It's a good question. I think I'm going to bring some cheese. I'll probably bring some examples of kind of what you need to get started in that. I don't know. Maybe I can't really bring a baby goat because I've got to spend the night, and I don't think the hotel would like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I haven't really put together completely everything, but mostly stuff on just goat care and cheese making.
It's like 2 months away, so you got some time.
Yeah, I've got some ideas, but it's like I've got to get my table and my tent, and I'll figure it out.
How much So if someone wanted to get into raising goats, like how much property would they need in order to make that doable?
Not much, honestly. My goats are actually, even though we've got acreage, they're contained to about 2 acres.
Okay.
So, and they're spoiled, sassy things. So mostly they just hang out under their nice shady barn with their automatic waters and their hay, and so that they don't even wander all that far on what they have.
That's awesome.
So
That's a good goat life.
so really a couple acres is fine. Now understand they're not going to be able to forage all their own food on that. So you're going to be bringing in hay for them. You're going to be bringing in feed for them, and just be ready to do that. And especially with the way things are priced nowadays, I mean, the feed costs are just going through the roof and everything. So, keep that in mind.
I gotcha.
As I've said before, you can't just say, I'm going to throw them out in my yard and they're going to cut the grass, because they're not.
Right. You don't rent out your goats to cut people's grass and thickets and stuff?
No, in fact, goats are more like deer.
Okay.
They come and they eat all of your landscaping, and they don't eat your grass. So I have to actually mow their pasture at least once a summer because it'll be up to my knees,
Holy
like, girls,
cow.
you could come eat some of this stuff. And yeah, but there's not a lick of poison ivy or a leaf that falls off a tree that doesn't get devoured in there.
Yeah, we thought about doing that whole rental thing. We used to live in a place with just our entire backyard, full acre, was just filled with kudzu. And
That's
from
enough.
what we heard, they like kudzu. Is that like kudzu, poison ivy, all that kind of stuff? Yeah. Okay.
Anything green and leafy.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Completely lost my train of thought. Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Are there any like predators in your area that you have to be worried about with the goats?
Yes, we've got huge packs of coyotes behind us, and they'll serenade us, certain evenings. And when I first got the goats, I didn't have guardian dogs. I didn't really have a barn. I didn't have anything. And so I'd really worry every night, like, are they going to be okay when I come out? So I've since got Great Pyrenees. They're livestock guardian dogs. Just great big fluffy white dogs, but they're bred to integrate with the herd and protect their herd. So I've got 2 of those guys, and they keep everything away.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Our dogs would not really keep anything away, I don't think. I think it's nice to have those dogs that are
dogs
like
with
bred
jobs.
for it. Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
and
it's fun to watch.
And one of the main predators. Go ahead.
No, go for it. Go for it. One of the main predators.
Okay. Yeah, one of the main predators is actually people's dogs. Like, loose dogs come in and they just for sport will chase them down and kill people's goats, attack people's goats. And so
Really?
I mean, they're as much of a risk. Yeah, they're as much of a risk as the coyotes.
Holy cow! I had no idea.
So
Interesting.
if people get into the goats, make sure that you get dogs that are bred to do this job.
Yeah. What do you think there's a particular person who, like, mindset or personality that would be bad at raising goats? Or do you think they're like, what do you need in, like, personality wise in order to raise goats and chickens? And
you can't be somebody who wants to travel all the time unless you've got really good help. So, I get maybe 1 week off a year, kind of, to go to the beach or something. So, I mean, be prepared. If you're a homebody, you like to stay home, it's a good fit for you. If you like to flit off on vacation every month, probably not.
Okay.
I guess you've got to be willing to look at them every day, really recognize, have, like, I guess, kind of a empathy, and recognize when they're off even a little bit, because they're very good at hiding when they're sick until they're really, really sick. And so, you need to kind of be able to have a read on them, like, okay, she just looks a little weird today. and sometimes that's all the warning that you're going to get. But if you catch stuff early, it's not a problem. Let's see, anything else? I mean, obviously you got to love animals,
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah. And they're really, anybody who likes dogs and cats and things like that is going to like goats. They're very affectionate. They're very smart. So, they're fun to work with where, going out there and working with a cow. Okay. Yeah. You're working with the cow. It's fine. But the goats, they want to come up and rub on you and play with you and be pet and all that.
That's kind of fun. It's better than a cow coming up and rubbing on you and stuff.
Yeah. Well, you know my stand on cows, so.
Yeah, fair enough. Is there anything that you want people to know about your farm or about like what y'all do? Is there anything you would like to promote before we get out of here?
I guess if anybody's just looking to get into it and wants to get started with high quality animals that are going to produce for you, one thing to really look for when you're picking up goats is not just go to the auction. There are a couple of diseases in goats that are incurable viruses. One is called CIE. It's the big one. It's like goat AIDS, and you don't want that in your herd. So, make sure you're looking for a clean, tested herd with production records. Start out with the right stuff or you're going to be paying for it later pretty much. Right. So, anyone's looking for that kind of investment and those kind of kids or stock to get started with. Kidding season's just starting here, so we should have some available. I don't know. I mean, just check out our YouTube videos. Anybody's interested in cheese making or, we got some goat care stuff on there too.
Heck yeah.
I don't, like I said, I lost my editor and cameraman, so there's not new stuff, but there's plenty of everything you could dream of in there.
Yeah, there's tons of videos. Y'all are really consistent. That is impressive.
We were. Yeah.
What like do goats tend to get sick a lot, or is that pretty?
No, not really. But I will say I probably lose, and I take into account that I'm going to lose one of my mamas a year, whether it's to complications of kidding or pneumonia. It's usually complications of kidding or pneumonia.
Gotcha.
And I've lost one to mastitis.
Gotcha.
So just, when you're checking out your numbers, again, that's why I say start with 3, because you never know. Something's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. How would you, I know you said they tend to hide it till the last minute, but like, how would you recognize like pneumonia in a goat?
A healthy goat is an eating goat. Oh. So as long as they're shoving their faces, it's a pretty good sign that all's good to go. If they're standing away from the herd, they look kind of droopy, they're not eating, they don't come when you're putting grain out. It's a pretty good sign that she's not well. And at that point, you want to check their temperature. That's the first thing. I can't tell you how many people call me and say, there's something wrong with my goat. Well, what's her temperature? Oh, I don't know. I can't help you if you don't go just take a temperature, please. First thing,
Gotcha.
So, in that case, you kind of got an idea of what you need to do to treat it. And sometimes, or most of the time, you catch things early and you can treat it and not have a problem. And sometimes there's just nothing you can do. And again, this is the reason I'm not organic and I'm not for organic dairy, because once you've treated a cow with an antibiotic, or a goat for that matter, for a respiratory infection or something, she can no longer be considered organic, period. So a lot of like these big, like, was it Horizon Valley or whatever, the big organic farms will actually run 2 herds, one that is all your organic animals, and then all the other ones that they've treated, they got to bump over to the other herd.
Interesting.
So, all of those medications and stuff have milk withdrawals. So it's not in your milk. It'll be, okay, you can't use this milk for a week after she's done with her medication. Okay. But at the end of it, you've got a live goat, and I can't see when we do have modern medicine letting them suffer and die. And when it's something that's easily treated.
Right. Yeah. I've been reading a lot about like the different categories, I guess, of like grass fed, pasture raised, like all these
Hmm.
different terms. Do they have the same, like, do they have terms like that for like goat meat, goat milk, goat cheese, that kind of stuff?
I think it'd be about the same. And that's one thing that they always, I get questions every year is, are these grass fed?
Mm,
Well, the majority of their diet, yes, but these are production animals, and my girls are pumping out milk, like the amount of milk compared to their body weight, it's crazy. I might have a 150-pound animal giving a gallon of milk a day, and she's
jeez.
going to need more than just hay to sustain her weight and give that kind of production.
Mm,
So, and they need the incentive and something to keep them busy while you're milking them. So,
right.
I mean, if you just try to drag her up on a milk stand and milk her and she's got nothing there to eat and give her a reward for being there, she's going to stomp at you and give you a hard time about it, So, no, it's all about more the well-being of the animal than it is the label, because a lot of that label stuff to me is just kind of gimmicky.
Gotcha. I
It's
know.
like your vegetarian chicken feed. It's like, chickens are omnivores. Why do you want vegetarian chickens? Like,
Right.
yeah.
So things like the overcrowded facilities with cows, I know is a huge, like they've done a
Hmm.
ton of documentaries about them. Does the same thing
Hmm.
happen with goats?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I think it's less of an issue because there are fewer goat dairies.
Right.
I mean, really, there are only a handful of big ones left around the country. There are a couple big ones up in Wisconsin, but it's such a niche market, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't see it as much as you do with like all those huge factory cows.
Right. Yeah.
It's not as much of an issue.
Interesting. Well, Kristin, thanks so much for the info. I really appreciate it. This was enlightening. I know way more about goats now.
Probably way more than you ever needed to know, but
I think at some point my wife and I will definitely get some, but it'll be out in
at some
Montana.
point, yeah, after the
Yeah,
chicken, she's gonna be like, "Honey, I need a dairy goat."
that's exactly what's going to happen.
It is. I'm telling you, how it's gonna roll.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you coming to the Great Create. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person there. That'll be great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's see. I'm going to put your YouTube channel back up on the screen for those watching. On YouTube, it's Hammock Haven Farm. You can go watch a ton of their videos. They're great. If you want to learn how to make or see some of their cheeses, yes, they look delicious.
And then we've got our website too, hammockhavenfarm.com. I have not updated it. My provider changed anyway, I've got to rebuild the whole site, long story short. So
Gotcha.
it's kind of out of date, but there's contact information and some of our pictures and stuff on there too.
Gotcha. Well, I will put that in the episode description. And just as a reminder again, Kristin's going to be at the Great Create, which is happening May 12th through the 14th in Perry, Georgia. Tickets are on sale right now. $42 for adults, and children 16 and under get in for free. So go ahead and go get your tickets now, because it's going to be a really fun time. We've got a film festival. We got some comedians. We've got live podcasts. We've got all sorts of stuff. So it'll be fun for everybody. Kristin, again, thanks for joining us. And
Thank you.
Yeah. And we'll see all you next week.
Nice to meet you, and I'll see you in May.